Wildfires are raging in Italy, France and Spain as southern Europe endures another spell of severe heat.
Des flammes de plusieurs mètres de haut.
Extremo en la región de Murcia, Alicante y también en la provincia de Valencia.
First noticed the fire break out yesterday. In the last 10 minutes, the police have come round and they've told us that we've got 30 minutes to get out.
So, wildfires raging in France, Spain and Italy, record dry conditions triggering a drought in parts of Wales and warnings about the environmental impact of the hot weather. Well, over the next 10 minutes or so, we'll have all you need to know about the extreme heat and also ask, is it hotter than 1976? But first, look at these dramatic pictures of a huge fire that is burning in and around Bordeaux in France. About 12,000 people have been evacuated so far. Our Europe correspondent Nick Beak has the latest on that and the fires in Italy.
We're only halfway through the summer of 2026, but already this is one of the worst years in the past 20 when it comes to the amount of land within the European Union that's been burned by wildfires. Temperatures of more than 40 degrees in some places have been really fanning the flames. 3 firefighters across southern Europe have been killed trying to contain them. In France, more than 20,000 people have been evacuated. A lot of tourists, also people living there, camping sites and other holiday accommodation have been cleared out. We're talking about Bordeaux in the southwest of the country in particular. No homes have been destroyed and no reported injuries in the past 24 hours. In Italy, it's the island of Sicily where they're particularly concerned about this. They've been using aircraft to dump a lot of water on the fires that have been burning. In the nearby Calabria region, the authorities are talking about arsonists setting fire to a lot of different places there. And also in one particularly grim scenario, they say that people have been using rags which have been doused in flammable liquid and tying them to the tails of cats. So a pretty nasty story coming from there. We know in Spain as well there have been fires. So really across southern Europe at the moment there is a battle to contain this summer's seasonal wildfires.
Well, Nick mentioned there Spain. It is also tackling those fires. Our reporter Sergi Forcada is there.
Here in Spain, firefighters have been tackling a major wildfire which is around 75 kilometers south of Madrid, near the city of Toledo. The authorities ordered the evacuation of several communities as the fast-moving fire was threatening their homes. The blaze spread as hundreds of firefighters made some progress against a huge blaze north of the capital in Guadalajara. Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez, who visited the area, said more than 1,000 square kilometers had already been burned in Spain this year. Now, in an attempt to reduce the risk of wildfires, local communities in the area of Galicia have revived a traditional method of clearing undergrowth. They have brought in native goats, sheep and cattle to eat the scrap so it doesn't pose a risk.
So what's the impact of all the extreme heat? We mentioned a drought has been declared in North Wales, and this map from the European Drought Observatory shows the situation across the continent with the areas in red under an alert. Our senior climate and science reporter Esme Sallard has more on the impact of successive heat waves on the environment.
This summer we've seen repeated heat waves across North America and Europe, as well as prolonged periods of low rainfall. But it's this heat in particular which has been causing issues. Effectively, it's made the air thirsty. It's been increasing evaporation and drawing moisture out of our soils, our rivers and our lakes. This has increased the risk of drought. It's added more water into the atmosphere, making it more humid and those heat waves unbearable. And it's also drying out our vegetation, which is the perfect fuel for wildfires. And a study published today by the World Weather Attribution Group at Imperial College London said that in the first half of this year, that heat-driven evaporation across Eastern Europe has been made 40 times more likely because of climate change. And one of the authors, Dr. Mariam Zakaria, explained to us the impacts of that.
As we know, water is important for agriculture, and that means that food security is one of the major factors that is going to, or major sectors that will be impacted by droughts. So often in the aftermath of a drought, we see that, often essential grain prices go up.
So that's an idea of the impact of the dry conditions. But one of the questions a lot of people are asking is, what is a drought? Here's Esme again.
Drought is effectively a prolonged period of low rainfall, but there's not one universal definition. That's because the impact varies depending on the environment, the people, the businesses. But government generally declares drought by looking at a range of measures, so things like soil moisture and how farming is coping. We've already got drought alerts across Europe in parts of Ukraine, Romania, Germany and France. And this afternoon we heard that drought's been declared in North Wales. And in fact, in the rest of the country here, we're expecting drought to be declared if there's not significant rainfall in the next few weeks. The country is on track for its driest July in 190 years.
Well, one of the driest and hottest summers on record here in the UK was 50 years ago. We've had a lot of people asking, is it hotter than back in 1976? Esme has been looking at the data for us.
So yes, the infamous 1976 heat wave, where we saw temperatures peaking at 35.9 degrees. That was relatively unheard of at that period of time. But actually, with climate change, where we're getting more severe, more frequent heat waves, we're seeing that threshold breached more regularly. In fact, in the last 6 to 10 years, we've seen that temperature threshold reached. But actually another key component of that heatwave was how long it lasted. So in some parts of the country, we had 15 consecutive days of that heat. And that increased the evaporation that scientists are particularly worried about now. And in that case, there was detrimental effects on agriculture. We saw barley crops down 50% after that event.
Well, back in 1976, many people were asking, when will it rain? It is the same today. BBC Weather's Thomas Schaffenacker has the answer.
The lack of rainfall here in the UK and across Europe is becoming really quite serious now. What hasn't helped is that here in the UK over spring we had very little in the way of rainfall across many parts of the country. So this is going back to March, April and May, and you can see the brown colours indicating where the driest of the weather was. It's just in some western and central parts of Scotland where we had perhaps a little more rain than normal. And now, of course, we've had the prolonged dry spells, heat wave after heat wave. The river levels are low, the reservoirs are low. And for example, in Wales just recently, a drought was declared. Now, there could be a little bit of rain on the way in the short term. If we have a look at the forecast, this weather front will be crossing the country through the course of Friday night into Saturday and moving southwards. And you can see the blobs of blue showing the rainfall. But as that weather front reaches southern areas, it tends to fizzle out. And how much rainfall are we going to get? So this is the accumulation. So over the couple of days through Saturday and Sunday, that lightest shade of blue here, which is what most of us will see, is right at the bottom of the scale. So we're only talking about a couple of millimetres of rain, which is nowhere near enough.
So rain might be on the way, but it's not just Europe that is struggling with this heat. Sri Lanka's Environment Minister says his country is bracing for a severe drought, whilst the umbrellas were out in Tokyo as extreme heat has gripped Japan. It's been described by officials as a disaster. 3 central cities experienced what they describe as, quote, a cruelly hot day. So with climate change and predictions of further rising temperatures, are heat waves going to get hotter? Our senior climate and science reporter Esme Stallard is back.
So we get a heat wave declared and we get 3 consecutive days of maximum temperatures over a certain threshold. That threshold is determined for a certain area by looking at the average maximum temperature during the midsummer over the last 3 decades. But with global warming, as we see average temperatures increase, and that threshold will go up. And so the marker for a heat wave will also increase. So for example, in some parts of the country in the 1950s, a heat wave may have been declared when it reached 30 degrees. Today, that may be closer to 33 degrees. So yes, by the definition of heat waves, they are going to be getting hotter.
Finally, it's not just us humans struggling in this heat. Even camels can't cope with the extremes of rising temperatures in Africa. Our environment correspondent Navin Singh Khadka has more.
Desert are always hot places. What's changed now is that level of heat, 50 plus, remains there, lingers there. Even at nighttime when camels would relax, that is changing. The duration and the intensity of heat is making these animals very weak dehydrated, lethargic, and as a result there are other complications. And also quickly, water. Water is becoming scarce. Water is what makes this animal keep going for many days. But if there's no water for many days, that's when they just sit down, and then heat, of course, skin problems, infection, and also reproduction, less milk, even quality of meat. So many issues found by these scientists.
And that's all you need to know about the extreme heat.